My name is Ethan, and I was homeless by the time I turned 16 because my family decided I was disposable. That's not a figure of speech. One day I had a bed, a school backpack, and a key to the front door. And the next, I was sleeping behind a gas station with nothing but a garbage bag of clothes and a bruised heart. I don't tell many people this part of my life because they either pity me or think I'm lying. But I'm finally saying it here because the people who threw me away just reached out again, after 30 years. When I was a kid, it was just me and my mom. My dad was around, technically, but more like a ghost with a wallet. My mom was the glue. She made sure I ate, hugged me after nightmares, and knew every weird little thing about me, like how I had to tap my books 3 times before reading them. We didn't have much, but it was warm and safe. Until it wasn't. She got sick. Cancer. Fast and merciless. Gone within a year. I was 12 when she died, and everything good in my life died with her. My dad remarried a year later. Her name was Teresa, and she was all smiles and perfume when she first showed up. She had a son, Brian, who was a year older than me and acted like the world owed him a trophy. At first, I tried. I really did. I smiled when Teresa kissed my forehead. I shared my PlayStation with Brian. I didn't even complain when they moved into our house and started rearranging everything, even my room. I thought if I was good enough, they'd keep me around, like I had to earn a place in my own home. But things changed quickly. Teresa started nitpicking everything I did. Suddenly I was moody and disrespectful for not laughing at her dinner jokes. Brian would accidentally break my stuff and laugh when I cried. When I told my dad, he told me to grow up and stop being dramatic. The man who used to sneak me chocolate milkshakes after school now barely made eye contact with me. I was slowly becoming invisible in my own house. Meals got tense. I stopped speaking much because anything I said seemed to set someone off. Teresa started suggesting I see a behavioral counselor. She said it with a smile, but the way she looked at me made me feel dirty. Brian would call me a freak when no one was around. He once pushed me down the stairs and said I tripped. I had a sprained wrist, and Teresa said I was clumsy just like my mother. My dad? He nodded and said I needed to be more careful. By 14, I had mastered the art of silence. I lived like a tenant in their house, one who owed rent in obedience and invisibility. I hid in the basement most nights just to stay out of their way. Teresa told the neighbors I was going through a phase. Brian got a new iPhone for his birthday. I got a chore list taped to my door. I still tried to win my dad back. A's on my report card. Cleaned the garage without being asked. Nothing worked. The worst part? I still wanted their love. I know that sounds pathetic, but I was a kid. I kept thinking maybe if I fold the laundry just right, maybe if I say yes ma'am more, maybe he'll hug me again. But hugs stopped when Mom died. Now I just got glances. Cold ones. Or worse, pitying ones like I was a charity case no one wanted to deal with. I told myself I could survive it. 3 more years. Graduate, get out, start fresh. I never imagined I wouldn't make it that far. I never imagined they'd decide 3 years was too long to wait. It happened just before my 16th birthday. Winter had iced over everything, including the last scraps of warmth in that house. One night, Brian's brand new gaming laptop went missing. He'd left it in the living room and by morning it was gone. Chaos erupted. Teresa was screeching, Brian was accusing, and my dad was quiet, but watching me. Always watching me. I didn't even understand what was happening at first. Then Teresa turned to me with that brittle smile, the one that stretched but never reached her eyes, and said, "Where is it, Ethan?" Just like that. No question if I did it. Just where? I laughed. I actually laughed at first because it was absurd. I told them I didn't take anything. I never touched his stuff. I barely even looked at it. But they didn't believe me. Or maybe they didn't want to. They found the laptop later that day, hidden behind the dryer in the laundry room, covered in a plastic bag. It was damp and ruined. Brian claimed he just knew I did it. Teresa said, "Why else would it be there?" My dad didn't say a word while I stood there shaking, begging them to listen. I said someone must have planted it. I even asked them to check for fingerprints. Teresa laughed and said, "This isn't CSI." I realized then that they didn't need proof. They needed a reason. Any excuse to get rid of the extra mouth, the dead woman's kid. That night I was told to pack a bag. No yelling. No dramatics. Just cold, sterile instructions. You need to go figure yourself out, my dad said. We're doing this for your own good. Teresa stood behind him, arms crossed, her lips twitching like she wanted to smile. Brian was nowhere in sight. I didn't have anywhere to go. I had no extended family. My mom's side had all passed or drifted. I texted my one friend, and his parents said I couldn't stay. So I wandered, spent the first night at a bus stop, shivering. I kept thinking they'll change their minds. Dad will come find me, but he didn't. Days passed. I ran out of money, food. I learned which stores had warm air vents, which fast food workers would give me leftovers if I looked sad enough. 1 week turned into 2. I stole a toothbrush from a drugstore, slept under bridges, got kicked out of the library for smelling bad. I told myself every day they'll call. This is just a mistake. But the call never came. Instead, one day, I ran into Teresa at a grocery store. She looked at me, then turned her cart and walked away like I didn't exist. I started shoplifting to survive. Got beat up twice. Spent nights clutching my shoes like they were gold. The lowest point? Eating fries out of a trash can behind a McDonald's. That was the day I stopped hoping they'd come back for me. I told myself, if I'm going to survive, it won't be because they saved me. It'll be because I learned how to disappear. They didn't just throw me out. They buried me alive. And the worst part? For a long time, I still thought I deserved it. I built a life without them. It took years of scraping by, working dead-end jobs, crashing in shelters, doing things I'm not proud of just to stay alive. But I made it. Eventually, someone gave me a shot. I got a steady gig doing maintenance at a university, took community college classes at night, got certified. I worked my way up, bought a truck, then a condo, then started my own HVAC company. No one knew where I came from. I liked it that way. I never changed my number, though. That's the part that haunts me. Somewhere deep down, some part of me still clung to the fantasy that my dad might one day call and say, I'm sorry. Maybe it was pathetic, but trauma is a funny thing. It makes you loyal to people who destroyed you. I didn't think they ever would reach out, but I didn't block them either. I just left that door half shut, rotting on its hinges. Then last month, I got a Facebook message from a name I hadn't seen in decades. Brian. My heart stopped. For a second, I felt like I was 16 again, staring down a monster in a polo shirt. The message was short. Hey man, long time. Wanted to catch up. That was it. Like nothing happened. Like I hadn't slept under a bridge because of him. I didn't respond. 2 days later, a friend request came from Teresa. I deleted it. Then another. Then another. Then a message from a new account she made. We'd love to see you. We've all changed. Your father isn't well. Please. I sat there staring at it, phone shaking in my hand. Your father. Not my dad. Just your father. Like he was a stranger we both happened to know. I didn't respond, but something started unraveling in me. Couldn't sleep. I kept checking my phone, waiting for more messages. Scared they'd stop, but terrified they wouldn't. I called in sick to work and found myself driving through the old neighborhood like some ghost retracing his own murder. The house was still there. They'd painted it gray. The porch was the same. The tree I used to climb was gone. Then came the voicemail. My father's voice, older, raspier, but still unmistakable. Ethan, I know I don't have the right to ask anything of you, but I wanted to hear your voice before I go. I'm sick. I made mistakes. Please talk to me. I listened to it twice, then again, and again. I almost threw the phone at the wall. I almost called him back. I didn't. I talked to my therapist. Yes, I finally started therapy after decades of pretending I didn't need it. She asked, what would you need from them to feel closure? I said, a time machine. She nodded like she understood, but the truth is, no one really understands unless they've been left behind like trash. No one gets the bone-deep ache of wanting an apology that will never undo the damage. Then something in me shifted. I started writing a letter, not to send, just to write. I listed everything. Every scar, every betrayal, every night I nearly froze, every time I cried for a father who never came. And somewhere in the middle I realized they weren't reaching out for me. They were reaching out for them, to ease their guilt, to clean their conscience before the clock ran out. I finally responded, not with warmth, not with rage, just 5 words. "What do you want, Brian?" He replied instantly like he'd been waiting at the edge of his screen. "Dad's got cancer. They don't think he has much time. He keeps asking about you." I stared at that message so long I forgot to breathe. Cancer. The same thing that took my mother. The irony was sickening. They invited me to the house. "Just come say goodbye," Teresa messaged. My hand hovered over my phone for hours. I didn't know if I wanted closure or revenge. I didn't know if showing up would heal me or split me open again. But I went. God help me, I went. I told myself it was just to look them in the eye and say what I'd been carrying for 30 years. But deep down, I wanted them to see what they'd lost. The house was exactly as I remembered and not at all the same. Cleaner. Sadder. The walls felt hollow, like the memories had been scrubbed out but the echoes were still trapped. Teresa opened the door. Her face cracked when she saw me. "You look good," she said. Like that erased the years. Like starving on the streets had been some minor inconvenience. Brian was there too, older, thicker, balding a little. Still smug, but weathered. Like life had knocked him around too, but not nearly enough. "Hey man," he said. Like we were childhood friends catching up. I didn't speak. I walked past him and said, "Where is he?" Teresa led me to a room that used to be my mother's sewing room. Now it smelled like stale medicine and dying breath. My father was a skeleton wrapped in skin. He looked up when I walked in. I expected to feel fury. I expected to yell. Instead, I felt a numb. He said my name like it was a prayer. "Ethan." I sat down. Not because I forgave him, but because I needed him to hear me. And I told him everything. In that tiny, suffocating room, I told him what it felt like to sleep in the snow, to beg strangers for food, to be erased by your own blood. He cried. I didn't. He reached for my hand, but I didn't give it. Couldn't. Some part of me still wanted to, but my body refused. "I'm sorry," he kept saying. I was weak. I let her. But I didn't want excuses. I wanted time back. I wanted my 16th birthday. I wanted my mother. I wanted me, the boy who believed his father would never throw him away. And then I said it. The only thing I knew for sure. "You left me to die. You didn't just lose me. You abandoned me." He cried harder. Teresa came in, tried to put her hand on my shoulder, and I flinched so hard she stepped back. "You should go," I said. "All of you." And I walked out. I didn't slam the door. I didn't look back. I just left, heart pounding, stomach turning, silence ringing in my ears like sirens. Outside, the air was cold and sharp. I sat in my truck, hands gripping the wheel, breathing like I'd just run a marathon. I don't know how long I sat there. 10 minutes, an hour. But eventually, I started the engine, pulled away, and didn't look back. The next morning, I woke up to 12 missed calls and 4 voicemails. 1 from Teresa, 3 from Brian. All were some variation of, "You didn't have to be cruel." Funny, isn't it? They think I'm cruel now. Because I didn't hold the hand of the man who watched me get thrown out like trash. Because I didn't offer forgiveness like it was Halloween candy. The bar for their morality is so low it's practically a tripping hazard. I didn't respond. But part of me wanted to. Not to apologize, just to ask, where was this concern when I was sleeping in a parking garage? Where was this family when I hadn't eaten in 2 days? The fact that they could still twist things into making me the villain, it nearly made me laugh. But mostly it made me sick. It made me remember that no matter how far I've come, their damage still lives inside me. I went silent for a week. My therapist called it protective distance. I called it survival. My sleep was wrecked. I kept dreaming about the night I left the house. Not the real version, the dream one, where I stood at the door begging to be let back in. In those dreams, my dad always shuts the door slowly, never speaking. Sometimes it's Teresa. Sometimes it's me who shuts it, but I wake up sobbing either way. Then, a text from Brian. Dad passed this morning. He wanted me to let you know. That was it. No funeral details. No condolences. No final request. I stared at the message, waiting to feel something. Guilt, relief, grief. Nothing came. It was like trying to cry with an empty throat. Just a dull echo where emotions used to be. I put the phone down and went back to fixing a busted water heater. Word must have gotten around, though. A cousin I barely remembered DM'd me on Instagram. You didn't go to the funeral? She wrote. I didn't respond, so she followed up. He always said you'd come back one day. That he missed you every day. I stared at that message for hours. If he missed me, he had 3 decades to show it. Love without action is just a fantasy you tell yourself at night so you can sleep. One of my oldest friends, one of the few who knows the whole story, said, You should have gone. You might regret it one day. And maybe I will. Regret is like rust. It eats slowly, quietly, until one day the whole thing collapses. But I wasn't going to show up just so everyone could pretend nothing happened. Just so they could say, look, we made peace, before burying me with the same lies they buried him. Teresa sent me a final message after the funeral. He loved you in his way, and that might be the cruelest thing anyone has ever said to me. If abandonment is love, then I don't want it. If neglect is love, then call me unloved and leave me in peace. I blocked her number after that. Not out of spite, out of necessity, like cauterizing a wound that never healed right. But that night I did something I didn't expect. I took out an old photo of my mother. One of the few things I had hidden in a storage box for years. I stared at her face, at the smile that had once made everything okay. And I whispered, I made it, Mom, without them. And for the first time in a long, long time, I believed it. It's been 4 months since my father died, and sometimes I still check my phone expecting another message from someone in that house. I blocked them all, but part of me still waits. Trauma doesn't care about logic. It brands you, then dares you to forget the burn. I go through my days like a man who's both freed and haunted. Like I escaped a prison but still sleep on the floor out of habit. I told myself that closure would come with confrontation, that saying everything out loud would unchain me. But here's the truth no one wants to hear. Sometimes, closure doesn't exist. Sometimes you speak your truth and still carry the weight. I don't regret confronting them. I regret thinking it would fix something. Some wounds don't scab, they scar. And you learn to live around the ache. My company's doing well. I have 5 employees, a steady stream of clients, and a calendar full of bookings. On paper, I've made it. Sometimes I catch myself thinking, I wonder if they brag about me now. Tell people their estranged son owns his own business. Say things like, he turned out all right, like it had anything to do with them, like their abandonment was a character-building exercise. I tried dating for a while, but relationships get tricky when your baseline for love is conditional silence and walking on eggshells. I sabotage things before they can get too close. I ghost people who are too kind to me, like I'm allergic to softness. I'm working on it. Therapy helps. Time helps. But healing isn't a straight line. It's a war with invisible landmines. I still get flashes, memories I didn't ask for. The look on Brian's face when they found the laptop. The way my dad didn't even argue. The cold click of the front door behind me. They come uninvited, like phantoms that live between heartbeats. I try to acknowledge them without drowning. That's the best I can do. Some days I win. Some days I don't. People say forgiveness is for the forgiver. Maybe that's true. But I don't owe it to anyone. Not them. Not even myself. Sometimes survival is the only justice you get. I survived. That has to be enough. And maybe one day I'll feel different. Maybe I'll soften. Maybe not. Either way, it's my decision now, not theirs. Every year on my birthday, I still light a candle for my mom. I tell her what I've built, how I found my way back from the brink, how I'm still trying to love the parts of myself that they taught me to hate. I think she'd be proud. At least I hope so. That's the only approval I ever really needed. So no, I don't regret not going to the funeral. I said goodbye long ago, under a bridge with a backpack and a broken heart. That was the funeral that mattered. And I buried them there.